Greetings, fellow Obsidizens of the vast Obsidian community. Welcome to another video in the Obsidian for Noobs video series, featuring tutorials, tips, and tools for new users of the Obsidian personal knowledge management software. If you have been spending any time at all with Obsidian, then you have inevitably and unavoidably come across the topic of Markdown. Markdown, as you've likely seen, is a type of code or syntax that uses a variety of notations placed in line with text to format targeted words or phrases. Obsidian uses Markdown to format the text in its notes. You can see some examples of Obsidian's Markdown on screen. Hashtags are used to format heading sizes. Double asterisks make text bold. Single asterisks italicize text, and so on. By the way, a quick tip: if you want to zoom in on an Obsidian note, hold the Control key down and press the plus key. If you want to zoom out, hold the Control key down and press the minus key. If you want to return to normal zoom state, Control key and 0. All right, I'm going to zoom in with Control and plus. To make this text bold, I'll surround it with double asterisks. To italicize it, I'll use a single asterisk. For headings, hashtags. That's heading size 3. For strike through, it's a double tilde. And so on. Markdown is arguably the main culprit responsible for frightening people away from using Obsidian. Most of us are used to using word processing software like Microsoft Word, in which we simply select desired text formatting from a menu. The idea of having to learn and use a coding scheme in order to format text is thus off-putting to many people, and understandably so. What you may or may not know is that Obsidian provides a way to accomplish most, if not all, text formatting without the need to actually use Markdown. The trick is to use what I call Obsidian's right-click menu. But before I demonstrate this handy alternative to Markdown, let me make an important point. Despite the existence of this alternative to Markdown, I still think that all Obsidian users should, at the very least, take the time to acquaint themselves with Markdown, for several reasons. First, you cannot completely avoid Markdown in Obsidian. Even this quote-unquote alternative I'm about to discuss uses Markdown. As you will soon see, it is not so much a replacement or alternative for Markdown, but rather an easy way to employ it. Second, if you don't learn at least a little Markdown, then you could get hit with what I call Markdown shock and awe. Take a look at this example. Let's say I have this text in a note. I don't know anything about Markdown. And I bring the cursor into the text. All of a sudden, all these symbols appear. They're foreign to me. I have no idea what they mean or how they got there. With at least a working knowledge of Markdown, we won't be shocked out of our wits when we see these odd symbols appear in our text. We'll know what they mean, we'll know why they're there. Third, most people find that once they get comfortable using Markdown, they often prefer it to the alternative method. Personally, I find myself using both methods. For some formatting, I find Markdown easier and quicker, while for other situations, I prefer the alternative method. Okay, with that said, let's take a look at Obsidian's nifty alternative to Markdown. When you right-click on a note, a menu will pop up offering an easy, simple way to access a variety of text formatting options, paragraph styling options, and other handy features. This is the right-click pop-up menu. I'll go through each of its components individually. The first item in the pop-up menu is Add Link. When you click it, the markdown for an internal link will appear, which is nested double brackets. Also, a list of all the notes in your vault will appear. Select a note, and you have a link to it. I'll use the backlinks to go back to the note I was working on. The second item in the right-click menu is Add External Link. This places the markdown for an external link, let's say to a website, in your note. Within the brackets, I type the text to identify the site I'm going to link to. And within the parentheses, I put the URL of the site. That creates an external link. If I click on it, my web browser opens and I'm sent to Google. The next items in the right-click menu are 3 groupings of commands: format commands, bold, italic, strike through, and some others, paragraph styling, bullet list, numbered list, checkbox list, headings, and an insert menu, where you can insert footnotes, tables, callouts, horizontal lines, and some other things. Let's go back to format. If I want to format text, I'll select it, open up the right-click menu, go to the format group, and select bold. And the text is bolded. Now notice that, as I said earlier, this is not an alternative to Markdown, technically speaking. It's just an easier way to employ Markdown. Rather than you having to remember the codes and type them in, the right-click menu puts the Markdown code in for you, but you're still dealing with Markdown. That's why I brought up the idea of shock and awe earlier. You cannot completely get away from Markdown. If you don't know what Markdown is, and you use this technique of the right-click menu to place it in your text, and your cursor goes over the text at some point, and the codes pop up, it may startle you. There's italic. There's strike through. And there's highlight. I'm going to skip code for now. I'll demonstrate that later. As far as math goes, Obsidian uses something called MathJax to format mathematical symbols. Here's an example. This is the syntax for square roots using MathJax. If I highlight it and in the right-click menu select Math from the Format group, you see that I get the actual square root symbol shown. This is a handy tool if you do things involving mathematics or science. There's a great website article at Make Use Of about how to write mathematical notations in Obsidian. If I remember, I'll include the link in the description. If you're interested in this, I highly recommend this site. It gives a brief introduction, but it really gets the point across. Right, going back to the Format group in the right-click menu, the last one is called Clear Formatting. If you select text that has been formatted, and you choose Clear Formatting, it does exactly what you expect. It gets rid of the Markdown formatting that you put on the text. All right, let's move on to the next group, which is paragraph. Bullet list, numbered list, checkbox list, heading styles. If I select that text, go to paragraph, and select heading 4, you can see that it immediately puts the hashtags in and converts the text to heading 4 style. For lists, let's start with this. I'll select this list, and under paragraph, I'll select bullet list. And there you have a bullet list. For the numbered list, we have this. And for the checkbox or task list, we have this. By the way, if you've never used or seen the Obsidian checkbox list before, once you create it, if you check a box, the check appears and the item is lined through. If you click it again, the check goes away. For body, that turns text back into the normal body size font. For example, I'll highlight this heading 4 text, and I'll select body, and it makes it back into the normal size text. The quote option creates a sort of block quote for a paragraph of text. For example, if I select this short paragraph here, go to paragraph, and choose quote, it creates this block quote structure. I should mention the following. In addition to being able to format existing text, you can create new text with the format as follows. I right-click in a blank space, I select Format, Bold, and then The double asterisks appear with the cursor in the middle of them, and I type the text I want. And it's bolded. So you can use these formatting options on existing text or when creating new text. Same with the list. And so forth. Let's move on now to the insert group within the right-click menu. If I click at the end of this paragraph and select Insert Footnote, I can put in my footnote, and it appears at the bottom of the note. Another thing you can insert using the insert menu are tables. By default, Obsidian inserts a 2x2 table, 2 rows and 2 columns. By the way, that's not the normal color of the table. It's very light in Obsidian in its default mode. I used a CSS snippet to enhance the color and the thickness of the frame of the table. If you want to increase the number of columns, you just hover over the right side. If you want to increase the number of rows, hover beneath and click the plus. Tables are a topic in their own right. I hope to do a video about them one day. But for now, simply know that you can use the right-click Insert menu to insert tables. By the way, this is the only situation, I believe, in which you don't see the markdown for the table, even if you click on it. Whereas, as you saw before, if you click on other formatted text, you do see the markdown. That is not the case with tables, and that's a blessing. Markdown for tables is a nightmare. If you're interested, look it up sometime. It's an absolute horror show. This is one of the best things Obsidian ever did, was to put in the automatic table option. Another thing you can insert are callouts. This, again, is a topic in its own right, and I hope to do a video on this as well. For now, I'll just do a very, very quick demo. Callouts have 3 parts to them, basically. That, by the way, that's what the callout looks like when it's rendered. The 3 parts are the type of callout, the title, and the contents. The type of callout determines the format, the color, and the icon that's used. The actual title itself and the contents you, the user, add. So, for example, I could create a callout like that. I put in the title, I put in the content. There are a variety of different callout types. I don't remember them all. I believe one is called warning. You could look up a list. If you put the correct phrase in here, you'll get that callout. As you can see, the color changed and the icon changed. But again, for now, for the purpose of this video, just realize that you can use the insert menu. You can use the insert submenu in the right-click menu to put callouts into your notes. Another thing you can insert are horizontal lines. Format submenu, I skipped the choice for code. I want to demonstrate that now. You can format text as an individual line of code or as a block of code, and more commonly, codes are in blocks. So I have here a CSS snippet that changes the color of text selecting. For example, that greenish color that you see is not the normal color that Obsidian uses. In dark mode, the normal color it uses is barely visible. So I use the CSS snippet to change it to this greenish color so that it stands out. And this is the code for the snippet. If I want to indicate this as a block of code, I would highlight it, select Insert and Code Block. And this is how Obsidian denotes code. 3 tick marks above and 3 tick marks below. Again, as you see, what happens here with this right-click menu is that Obsidian is merely inserting the Markdown for you. It's not replacing Markdown. It's just making it easier to use it. That's a code block. And a math block would be just like the single math example we used before, but with a block of text. Okay, that concludes my discussion of the alternative to Markdown. As I've noted, it's not really an alternative, it's just an easier way to employ Markdown. As a quick review, right-click on a note, you can add a link. That's an internal link. You can add an external link. You can format text as bold, italic, strike through. You can highlight text. You could denote code, math jacks, comments, and you can clear any formatting that you've created. In the paragraph submenu, you can create bullet lists, numbered lists, and checkbox lists. You can you can format text into any one of the 6 heading sizes or into normal body size. And you can create block quotes. The insert menu allows you to add footnotes, insert tables, insert callouts, and insert horizontal lines. And again, denote blocks of text as code or math. All right, that's it. A nice, simple, easy way to use Markdown. But again, I want to restate what I said at the beginning of the video. I strongly advise you not to use this as an alternative to Markdown. Acquaint yourself with Markdown, at least a little bit. Get an idea of what it is and how it works. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. You can do pretty much anything that you could do with Markdown using the right-click menu. And obviously the right-click menu is quicker and it's easier, in most cases at least. Okay, fellow Obsidizens, that's all I have for now. I'll see you in the next video. Happy note-taking.